Whew, that was scary. Can you hear me?
You started it?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Did you start it?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Now what?
You need to make me a panelist. So you need to go to participants at the bottom,
Uh-huh.
and then it'll show up, and I should be on there.
And then hit panelist.
What?
Hit,
Yeah.
show a panelist.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, it won't let me click on it. Do I?
Okay.
Do attendees?
I'm not attendee, but you make me a panelist.
Okay. How do I do that?
Okay. Click on attendees,
Yeah.
and then my name should be there.
Uh-huh. Allowed to talk?
No.
No.
Make me a panelist.
Okay, more.
You asked me. Yeah, but I need to make, because otherwise I'm getting doubles.
Okay. Is that okay now?
Well, I need to hang on. Okay. No, why am I still getting double?
I turned your microphone off.
Don't turn my microphone off. I'll do it.
Turn my sound off.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's bad.
Is it because of my phone?
There, no, it's because of my phone.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I'm talking on speakerphone, and then you had unmuted me or asked me to unmute. Okay, so now I'm a panelist.
Uh-huh.
Now you need to go back to the panelist page.
Uh-huh.
So where you went to attendees, you need to click at the top there and click panelists.
Left click, right click?
No, just regular click.
Okay.
Panelists.
Yeah.
And so it should say me and you.
Yeah, it says Webster Groves host and me. No?
It doesn't say me.
No?
Did you not make me a panelist?
I thought I did.
So I'm not listed there.
No, not underneath.
Okay, what about attendees? Go back to attendees.
Okay. Now you're there. And
Okay.
do
There's
more.
three dots.
Promote to panelist?
Yes.
Okay. That wasn't there before. Now it says you'll be rejoining the webinar.
Yes.
Okay.
Now you need to go over to participants.
Okay.
Then you need to make me a co-host.
The participants?
Yes.
Oh, at the bottom?
No.
Oh.
Back in that same exact square you were in where you had attendees and participants.
Yeah. Do I hit, how about panelists? Because the participant won't let me do anything.
Okay, yes, it counts.
Okay, then more
At my name, you need to.
and make you a co-host, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to make Jennifer a co-host at this meeting? Yes. Okay.
All right. And that should be it.
And that should be it?
Yes.
Recommend to the board for approval or vote either the nominee or nominees that we've selected. So I guess the first thing really I'd like to do is what characteristics or qualities or skill sets do we want for the board chair?
Well, I want somebody as organized as you have been.
I was just going to say that.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
I think it would be good to bring in some diversity to other input, especially moving forward. That's been something that's been brought to our attention that's been concerning to others that have given their opinions about our operations. So I think that might be good too. And I wonder if it'd be good to have a couple of people share it, because it just seems massive what you've had to do. That's my
I think
point.
it would be helpful too. I think our terms are 3 years, to have someone who has a little bit of background with the work that we've done and then still has time left in their term. Just so they're not learning what it's like to be a member on the board, and then also the role as the chair as well at the same time.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, I'm just pondering. I'm not being, I think there's something about it's a very in-between position. You're kind of in between city government and the community in a sense. And so, people like having the mayor and the chief of police, that can be a little intimidating for some people, and so I think somebody who would feel comfortable being, disagreeing with them if need be. I don't think you have to disagree, certainly, but it's kind of an intimidating thing to do if you feel it would be the right thing. So
That's a really good point. Though, I want this to sound wrong. It's easy to, Chief Curtis does not make it difficult to have a differing opinion.
I agree.
But unless you know him, like I have, gotten to know him over the last year and a half, almost 2 years, I can see where that might be a little challenging, at least to speak your mind. So, but I think Jerry's the same way.
It also might be good to have somebody who has familiarity or comfort with like technology and social media, because I have a feeling that is a direction we're gonna probably have to go in at some point, or dip our toes in a little bit more than we are.
I know. I have completely almost removed myself from social media almost entirely. But I think it's important because most people have not yet. And I say yet because I think there's a lot of people that are, the people that I associate with have completely removed themselves from it. So, because of the trash that's out there. I mean, it's just trash. So, but I think it's important. A lot of the people are getting there, especially the younger folks. That's where they get their information. And we have to, I just have to, come to terms with that. That's how that, even though I may not personally use it, I think it might be beneficial for organizations to use it. I do LinkedIn and those kinds of things, but that's just a little different platform. But I think that's important, Katie. I agree. I totally agree. Even though I personally don't like it, doesn't mean it shouldn't be an avenue, I think, used by the board. So, there's some pushback there with the city too, because I think I agree with the AID in that we're a unique board. We're not like any other board in the city. Because our charge is different. I mean, it's we're not inspecting properties, and we're not looking at historic preservation, and we're not You know, it's ours is a engagement between a department and its community. There's no other board like it. So I think that I personally have had some resistance, you know, in that area, and I'd like for someone to try to get through that, so that those that, you know, the city council, the mayor, whomever, they understand that we're a different bunch. We're a different board. We have a different charge. So I think that's important. So I think we need somebody with a little bit stronger personality than me, you know. So
I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
I think you have a good personality.
well, yeah, I don't know.
Strong. I don't know what you mean by strong.
Yeah, I think, you know, I wrote 7 things down that
Yeah.
I would like, you know, some characteristics that I'd like to see. Number 1, I said have a passion for the work of the board. I think the person needs to have a passion for the work that we're charged to do. And, you know, maybe try to step out of the boundary just a tad. Okay, I'm a rule follower. Always have been. That's my nature. That's why I'm an accountant. So, you know, the other is be able to effectively communicate both verbally and in writing. Because a lot of what we say and a lot of what the chairperson says, I think individual board members can get by with saying some things maybe a little more creatively than a board chair, you know. So I think a board chair has to mince their words a little bit more. They have to be a little more careful, and let the other board members really lay it out there, and both verbally and in writing, because I respond a lot in writing, through, you know, usually through the chief, but with you guys too. So, and another thing that's really important to me, important characteristic, is someone that's openly welcomes all viewpoints during discussions. That's one of my principles that I've always tried to adhere to, is that everyone be able to openly share their viewpoints, without fear of anything. So, and then the other one is the ability to keep a meeting progressing. It's hard to do when we get into these very lengthy, serious discussions. Sometimes we just can't solve it all in one meeting, and we have to recognize we have to move forward. So, because we can't, you know, be on the call forever. I agree, Scott, well organized, have somewhat thick skin, and ability to accept constructive criticism. That's one of my shortcomings, is my skin isn't as thick as it should be. You know, sometimes I take things more personally than I should. But, you know, we all have to recognize where our weaknesses are as well as our strengths. And that's probably one of mine. And then the other thing is able to devote the time to prepare for the meetings, and to get agendas out for review at least a week prior to the meeting. I've always tried to get the information to you guys so that you have time to look at it. I've been on boards before where you get everything the night before, and I've hated that, because I never feel prepared that I can discuss an issue coherently, because I just haven't had time to look at it and think about it. So you know, those are some things that I'd like for that person to have. So, the co-chair, I'm not sure that we want co-chairman, but I think that I was told, and correct me if I'm wrong, but do we have to elect a different vice chair too?
I don't know.
I don't think you do.
I mean, I want to clarify that, but at the meeting, but I don't think we do. And Katie, you're the current vice
Well,
chair.
it sounded like what Jerry was saying was that, I don't know if this is an opinion or if it's like written someplace, but there are no other boards that have co-chairs. They're all a chair and a vice chair. So it seemed like she was in favor of that setup. But I don't know if that was just out of tradition or if that's, is that how you all heard it too?
Well, yeah. Is that what you heard? I heard that we had to elect a new vice chair, and it's like, I don't want to elect a new vice chair. I think Katie's doing great in that role.
Well, so
but-
I kind of heard Jerry say, you're stepping down. That's how I heard it. Like I
Who?
hadn't talked to her
I
about
didn't hear it that way.
I didn't
Who's
hear it that
stepping
way.
down?
me.
Oh, no.
I didn't hear
Okay.
that.
No, I personally would like you, I would like to see you stay in that role. And I think that,
Or step up.
I was gonna
Huh?
say step up.
or step up. But if you'd stay in
I
the
always
vice,
thought I would rather be the chair of vice. Don't you think that sounds like a more fun?
no, I think that maybe, we could discuss it with the board chair, that maybe have you a little bit more involved than I had you involved. I mean, I reached out to you individually. You and I had several conversations. But and because I, respect your position and your opinion and your knowledge a great deal. So,
I think we should check it out with Jerry. I'm happy to stay in the vice chair position. I don't think I have the outside organization time to like make sure those good agendas are being put together and all of that. And I think it really should be a person of color if somebody would take that role. I think that would be ideal
with that for the chair.
for the chair.
I
Yeah.
agree. I think that's a characteristic that I mean, that's what I'm looking for as well. So, Eric, you want to take it?
No, sir. and I really, I am swamped.
I have a couple of people in mind. At first, I certainly thought that Cindy Noy would be really good. She comes with a lot of background. She has a, educational doctorate. She's done extensive work facilitating race equity and community dialogues, and early work with the Webster Grove School District on race and diversity in the community. And then the other person is it's the two of our newest board members. So, I would probably work very closely with them, especially at the beginning, helping them navigate. Okay. And Katie, you could help them navigate as well through the process. And I've got a plethora of information that's saved on my hard drive that I can get to her, or, one of those individuals. The other is Angela. And I don't know if I essentially printed their bios, but she's an adjunct instructor in facility. Cindy Noyes lived in Webster for 29 years. But Angela, I'll go ahead and read this because it's and I can send this to you as well. But here's Angela. I am a non-traditional educator and trainer and have facilitated workshops for students, school personnel, businesses, and community partners, etc., in areas ranging from conflict resolution, diversity awareness, parent engagement, character education, and other professional development topics. Additionally, I've managed violence prevention, school dropout prevention, and college access programs. I have been trained as a social group worker and have worked with families in different capacities, including teaching social skills and the importance of giving back to the community. I've also served as a facilitator for the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens and convened focus groups and steering committees. Over the past couple of years, I've attended trauma-informed training, participated in and received a certificate in mental health first aid. Partnerships are essential in every community. The implementation of a police community engagement board will strengthen our neighborhoods and the relationship between the police and residents and help us to work in collaboration, increasing our quality of living while learning to better serve one another for the sake of all. That was under the additional skills or training. Her volunteer experience, she's been a community volunteer since childhood and served as both long-term volunteer for organizations as well as provided support at events and other activity, child school, sports teams, clubs. She volunteers right now at the Webster Groves Community Radio Station and recently became a member of the Old Webster Neighborhood Association. And for the last several years, she served as a volunteer for St. Louis Community Credit Union and Cardinals Care. So, you know, I think Angela's got the skill set that we're looking for. She has the experience. She's lived in Webster for 5 years. So long enough to know the community, but the other thing is I think she lives in North Webster. So she lives off Bell Street. So
What, just thinking about the configuration and also thinking about, you know, how it feels to get asked to do something big, like take on a chairmanship. I do wonder about asking them to be co-chairs, but then also I wondered, also for the sake of diversity, maybe, and I'm not trying to get out of anything, but maybe I step down and maybe one of our male members could be vice chair. So I don't know. I was just brainstorming as you were talking about that. I just think that, I think either of them are very, very qualified, and actually they have kind of complementary, like somebody who's lived in Webster 29 years versus somebody who's lived in Webster 5 years. Those are kind of different perspectives. I think Cindy seems really strong with like the technology aspect. And I think they're both like have great, you know, they're both really good with written and verbal communication. I would, you know, that would be great. But I don't know, maybe they would be more likely to take it on together. But that's just, you know, one idea. I would be open to anything, or they, you know.
Cindy is sharp. I worked with Cindy a long time. I mean, before she was became a principal at Brentwood, she was in the Webster School District as a teacher and assistant principal, and she's just on the ball with everything. So I think she would do a bang up job with it. My only concern would be, would she take it? Would she not want to take it because her plate's so full with other stuff? So.
right. Right.
That's my worry with everybody. Everybody's feeling, we all feel overwhelmed. We all feel our plates overstuffed and overfull. And that's why I wonder, maybe a part of this is to agree to help them a little bit, you know. And for example, I wondered if Kevin could continue to do a little bit of the agenda plan with him or something and just get him going on it, or tell him we'd support him a little more. I feel we dumped a lot upon you, Kevin, and maybe if we told them we'd give them that support, that would help them know they're not taking everything on. They're just providing that leadership and direction of where we're going, which I think they're both fantastic candidates. And I've enjoyed, every time they speak, I like sitting back and just listening. So.
I think Angela's experience is a little more broad. From various groups. And Cindy's is a little bit more focused. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think that those are really two different perspectives.
Does either one of them have small children? Do you know?
I don't know.
As far as time wise.
Cindy's is gosh, she's probably graduated from college by now, so okay. She doesn't have any.
Yeah. I mean, I think either one of them would be good. And, you know, I don't know if it would be possible to have a co-chair and then a vice chair. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing in it, the ordinance. I can find it in my binder.
As you're looking through that, Kevin, if I had to choose one, I guess my first would be Cindy because of, I think John's having worked with her, having lived in Webster for 29 years. And what I perceive as like her being adept with like technology. I think that's, if I had to choose one person.
Especially when she put together the survey on that kind of techie way. That it
Right.
kind of blew my mind, but.
Right. And it was just it was so easy for her. It's like, if you're working with that stuff, it's just second nature. You can just do it. Whereas like, you know, I'd probably have to spend several hours figuring it out.
Cindy was my first choice.
Cindy's your first choice?
Yes.
I would go with Cindy only because I know her and I don't know Angela.
Yeah.
So Eric, you would go with Cindy and John, Cindy,
Yes.
and Katie, Cindy, and Scott.
I'm very happy with both. I think I did early on. I was immediately impressed with Cindy's organization when she just grabbed up that survey and just said, I can just fix that. I mean, that to me is a skill set that Angela hasn't had a chance to show us that, I guess. But
Right. I mean, I could reach out to both of them. And find out. I mean, I talked to Cindy a while ago about the possibility. Anyway, so she's got an idea that she's on my list. But I mean, Angela has some fabulous qualities as well. I'm looking through here to see duties. Meetings of the board should be called by the chairman. It doesn't really say. It says it consists of 7 members, now 8. It just said the meetings. There's 3 that has a 3-year term, but just to give you an idea on the terms, it's not unusual on city boards and in Webster in particular for essentially you just say, I want to continue. So unless you, I mean, you can say, no, I don't wish to. When your term is expired, I guess you can say that at any point. But generally, a lot of times someone has served on a board or commission for Webster for a long time. I'm not necessarily sure that is right with this particular board because, as I said, it's a different charge, and I think the more community members you can get involved in the activities of the board, the more viewpoints you're going to get, and the more engagement activities that are going to naturally occur.
More awareness.
Yeah, exactly. All board members shall continue to serve until their successor is appointed. So
So Kevin, what if we're all in agreement that you reach out to Cindy first? I don't know how many were for Cindy, how many were for Angela, but for whichever one, if you reach out to them first and then the other, if need be.
yeah, I'm with Scott. You know, either would be a fine. So there's essentially, you know, 3 of you that think Cindy should be the person that I would reach out to first. Katie, unless you want to reach out to her.
I think it's great for you to do it because you're the person that's, you know, you're going to be her
Right.
mentor, really.
Right.
Yeah.
I as I said, I don't have an issue, and I'd be more than happy to do it. I can reach out to Cindy. And if she says no, there's no way, I'll reach out to Angela. And I think that maybe we bring up, here's the other thing on the agenda. There's no, the chairman of the board is supposed to put together the agenda and run the meetings, but there's no reason why the board members can't provide agenda items to the board chair.
Mm-hmm.
And Katie has done that on several occasions. And then those items are just added. So I think more board members can get more involved in providing agenda items to the chairman. The sunshine law is great, but it's also, in my opinion, very restrictive. But if you have a one-on-one conversation with someone, you don't necessarily have to publish the meeting or take notes or any of those kinds of things. But if you have involved more than 2, that's when the sunshine law kicks in. So, I mean, overall, I think it's a good thing because, you know, government historically has done things behind people's backs, and I think that's why the sunshine law was developed and initiated. But it can be a little restrictive because you have to follow this formal procedure and make sure everything's posted and all that. So, and I get it. And the new chairman would have to understand all that too. So, but yeah, I'll reach out. I will reach out to Cindy within the next few days, because our meeting is February 23rd at 6:30. So I'll reach out to her this week or this weekend to discuss it with her a little bit and get her take on it. So, but what I was going to say is I think maybe we should open up the discussion to see if co-chairs would be an alternative means to proceed.
It's making me think Angela and I are meeting this weekend to talk about the board retreat. And even if we don't decide to do co-chairs right now, which I think is fine, I think keeping it simple can be really good. But it might be something that we want to talk about. What are different configurations of the board, you know, going forward, that maybe that's a retreat item or like a strategic plan for our board too. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a board retreat would have to be, again, the public would be welcome to join it. as this one was. And I actually invited all board members to that anyone could have participated in this. So, but any retreat, it would have to be posted and all that stuff too. So. All right, there's really nothing that we need to, I guess, approve. But I have my marching orders.
Yes, please.
And you know, I'm totally agreement. I mean, both are wonderful people. I mean, then I think that would be, and I guess I deserve to tell you a little bit, at least why I am stepping away. It's not really what any one person did or what I just thought that it would be better for the continued work of the board to have someone of color take it forward, because my life experiences are completely different and a little narrow. Does that make sense? It just is what it is. And I just think that because I respect every single person on the board, and I've taken my shots from, you know, organizations, and I'm fine with that because I think it makes us a better board. But it has been a challenge and a difficult period of time to get this thing going.
Yeah.
And hopefully I have successfully at least gotten us started on the right track.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've done a great job, Kevin.
You've done an amazing job.
But that's the main reason. I mean, initially when you guys selected me as the original board chair, I said at that point, I said, the optics aren't great. You know, at the time I was a 58-year-old white man. You know, and I just think that I think to move forward with the work of the board, I think really it needs to be someone of color that has a different life experience than I do.
Well, that's leadership too, you know, I mean, I think that's a form of being a leader, to say, now it's time to pass this along. So I think that's really admirable, even though it's hard, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I thought long and hard of it, because I don't want anybody to think that I'm giving up on the board, because I'm not. I think that we've got a lot of work to do, and we've made a good start, but we've got a long way to go to improve the overall engagement. There's a lot of mistrust out there, a lot. And so I think that we need to do all we can do to try to mend those deep wounds, because there are deep wounds.
Can I give you a beware of? And
Sure.
This is just my perspective. First, Kevin, I think you've done an awesome job, and possibly taking us further than someone of color could or would. And my reason for saying that is the mentality of a lot of African American dealing with boards is that when you place a black face, usually their mentality is that's just what you're doing. You're putting a black face. And so there will be, for whether it's Cindy or Angela, there will be some harsh attacks thrown at them also, because they'll be by some looked at as the token, or they put you there just to pacify us, or you know. So I think we have to be aware that just because we may have a person of color chairing, it does not mean that it's going to thrust us any further than where you have taken us. And so it's a mentality. So there'll be a lot of distrust placed on them too by the Black community.
And I have worried too, that I don't want anyone to feel that like the white, I don't know if this is right, I may be overthinking it, but like that the white people on the board are just saying like, okay, Black people, you do all the work, you know? So I hope that, I think we're all gonna convey that we're here to do all the work and it's a collaboration, but
Yeah,
you know,
I don't think that would be an issue at all, as far as you do the work. But I do think there will be some looking at, well, they put their token in the Black community phrase, Uncle Tom, in there, just, you know. But I think they'll do a great job. And I think with input from myself or others, that we can get it across that that's not what it is. But there will be some that will look at it that way.
When Kevin presents it to them, they won't feel that way, you don't think, that it's tokenism?
No, I don't think Cindy or Angela would. I'm talking
Okay,
about the
good.
community, the Black community.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I think the more I am excited about the idea of the retreat, because I think the more we all get to know each other and our trust builds up amongst us where we feel even more comfortable, then that's like a team feeling where we're supporting, you know, whether it's, you know, you're doing a great job, or if somebody says, oh, they're, you know, here they go, they just put that Black person in the leadership position, I guess now they're done, or whatever they're, you know, that might be said, that we have a sense of purpose and togetherness and camaraderie in what we're doing too, I hope.
Yeah.
I think we're just getting started. I mean, we're far from done. And I think all of our life experiences are important, because the Black community needs to understand what my life experiences are as well.
Right.
You know, because, you know, I grew up in a small rural town on a dairy farm. You know, I didn't grow up in the big city. And it's a different world out there. A lot of people think that farmers are kind of backward and you know, they talk slower and they're not as gifted from a business perspective. A lot of people in the city think that. They're some of the best business people I've ever met.
I believe that.
Katie, when you guys talk about the retreat, I don't know what kind of timing you're thinking about, but if part of it is team building, I don't know if you guys would want to consider doing that like at a July or August, because I'll be stepping off the board in May. May will be my last meeting.
Okay.
And then my successor, I'm guessing, will probably be my replacement.
So maybe to think about it for the summer rather than having you participate and then step off. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I would be happy to participate in it, but if that new person's going to be rolling on and you guys have all bonded and done all the team building stuff, that it might be a little bit harder for that person to.
Do you have to step off? Well,
I'm the school district's representative, and then last summer we moved out of Webster, so I would no longer be eligible because I'm no longer a resident of Webster. So.
Okay. So your term's up in, I've got the list.
Well, I think originally it was a 3-year term, so I would have 1 year left, but since I'm retiring, I will no longer be eligible to keep the seat. So yeah.
Did I know you were retiring?
I don't know. You do now.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not far behind you. So, okay. But Eric, your point is very well taken. And I hope people don't think that, because that's not my intention.
Yeah. That is, like I said, it's just a mentality. And I'm gonna have to get off in a minute, but just with, like I was telling you earlier, even with this SG Collaborative, when we first met them, they had no Black faces, but when they talked about the redevelopment, and all of a sudden they put 2 Black faces on their team, and this is the thought process of the community. And so, but like I said, it'll be great. It'll work out. It'll be good. As long as they see us together. Yeah.
And
it'll
together.
be all right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
Yep. We'll see you
Night.
guys, and I'll reach out to Cindy, and I'll just kind of send you a quick email on how that went.
Okay.
Thank you.
I apologize. I have a board meeting. They're waiting on
Yeah.
me.
No, it's okay.
No worries.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Bye. See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, Jen.
Yep. Take care.